Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's CDBG Office Hours. I'm Mike Phillips, Federal Program Specialist. Also on the webinar, we have Mamie Early, our CDBG Section Chief, Susan Holt, our new CDBG Program Manager, Felicity Gosser, another Federal Program Specialist, and from our ISTF team, we have Ann Schmidt and Lauren Polk. If you are unfamiliar with Zoom, here's how you can ask a question to our team. In your user dashboard, there should be a Q&A chat bubble or icon, and you can use that to ask questions. You can ask questions anonymously, but we do ask that you leave your name, organization, the region you're associated with, and this just better helps us keep questions grouped together and track any follow-up. And we'll read questions out loud throughout the presentation and provide answers if possible. And all questions will be saved and recorded as part of the public record. And with that, we'll get into the program updates. I'll pass it off to Mimi.
Thank you, Michael, and good morning, everyone. For the CDBG program updates, for the 2022 CDBG NOFA, we have 42 recommended for award, 4 pending final approval, 5 currently routing, and 33 approved. For the 2023 CDBG NOFA, we had our first NOFA webinar on yesterday. HCD is pleased that we dropped that on September 29th for approximately $19 million. That's going to cover, we're only accepting applications that is the projects remaining on the 2019-2020 over-the-counter waitlisted applicants. Just to kind of let you know, applicants cannot change the project or budget. Funding is expected to be sufficient to make the awards for all the projects currently on the wait list. And again, we dropped the NOFA September 29th, 2023. The application will open October 30th, 2023. And the application closes December 29th, whichever one comes first. If we're able to review the applications prior to that and all the funds are awarded, we may close before then. And just again, to give you updates on the NOFA webinar, applicants are required to attend the below live webinars. We do have significant changes within the application and the NOFA itself. So we highly recommend for you to attend these webinars, and it is required. So again, we already had one on Tuesday, on yesterday. Our second session will be Thursday, October 26th at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Completing the 2023 application and budget will be Thursday, October 19th at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I can stress again that there are significant changes this year to the application form, content, and process. So we have released, if you haven't seen it already, the questions to the application in the solicitation file tab. So you should be able to review those. And then we'll provide the link to the solicitation so you can take a look at those documents. For the 2024 CDBG NOFA, we project to drop that NOFA January 2024. This will be competitive and over the counter, and would be approximately $48 million. And here are the save the dates, if you don't already have it from last office hours. Completing the 2023 CDBG application and budget workshop will be again Thursday, October 19th, 2 to 3. And we have a 2024 CDBG NOFA listening session. So that will be Wednesday, October 25th from 10 to 11. And then we have again the second session of the 2023 NOFA on October 26th from 2 to 4.
And it looks like Mike just posted the notes, the PDF from last week's office hours, so that should have the links to register. Correct, Mike?
Yes, it's this week's, but yeah, it'll have all.
Oh, it's this week, so that's where you can find the links. Thank you.
Yes, and before we go into questions and answers, I should have did this up front. but I know Michael kind of introduced, but we do have a new CDBG program manager on board. We are so grateful and happy to have her here, Susan Holtz. So you will be seeing her in a lot of communications and in our office hours and webinars and things. So I just want everyone to welcome her to CDBG.
Hi, everyone. Looking forward to working with you going forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Yep. So let's get into our Q&A recap from last week's office hours, or 2 weeks ago. This first question was on LMJ creation retention timeline. The question was, what is the period of time or performance period that the business will have to demonstrate or report on LMJ low mod job creation or retention? And the answer to this was, anyone with questions about economic development projects should start their search for information with Appendix D of the Grants Management Manual, the GMM, the Economic Development Chapter, Section 4.5.3 of Appendix D, called Deadlines and Timelines for Creating and Retaining Jobs, details that this comes down to a local program guideline that needs to be created or defined by the grantee in their program policies and agreements with businesses the length of time that a business needs to create or document the retained jobs. Best practices are outlined in this section of Appendix D that grantees should clearly define the timeline the businesses have, that the deadline should not exceed 3 years, and that there should be procedures allowing for time extension requests. When it comes to reporting to HCD, you cannot close out your contract until you have provided accomplishment information to HCD. This next question was on CDBG CV23 performance period. The question was, for CDBG CV23 was extended, what is the end date? And the answer to this was, we always recommend you check the specific agreement in eCivis, the system of record. We encourage all grantees to be familiar with their standard agreement documents and where to find the performance period. All performance periods were updated in eCivis to reflect time extension amendments. This next question is on the NOFA application webinars. The question was, regarding the NOFA application webinars, please clarify if we are not on the 2019-2020 waitlist, so therefore not applying under the 929 NOFA, you want us to attend the 2023 sessions on 10/17 and 10/19. And the answer to this was, we recommend that you attend the webinars so that you are aware of the changes that we will go over in those webinars. It is not mandatory, but we highly recommend that you attend one of the 2 sessions.
And I'll just add to that, the reason it might be valuable to attend, that I think maybe it's obvious, it goes without saying, is the way that the changes that we've made for the 2023 application will be largely mirrored in the 2024 application and budget design. So that's the reason that it could be valuable for you to attend, so that you have some advance, a preview of what's coming in January.
See, our next question was on consultant representation at webinars. The question was, for jurisdictions with consultant representation, will the attendance of their consultant be accepted as attendance? And the answer to this was no. While the consultants are welcome to attend the webinars, since the jurisdiction is the responsible entity, we are requiring the applicant to attend the webinars. And the next question was on NOFA webinar recordings. The question was to confirm all webinars will be recorded and available for viewing after the meetings, and that is correct. They will be available on ACD's YouTube under the CDBG Workshops and Trainings playlist. A link to the recordings and PowerPoint slides will be available on our website under the Resources tab. This next question was on Davis-Bacon reporting. The question was, can you share a link to the Davis-Bacon semi-annual labor standards enforcement report? Will these be required for non-construction activities? The answer to this was, the link was sent out to grantees via a miscellaneous task in the eCivis portal. States have to report to HUD only on construction activities, which generally triggered if and when a wage rate was requested. If you're operating a program that is not required to request a wage rate, you are not required to report.
And I'm sorry, this is my error. I was trying to make edits quickly this morning. I'm a day in from coming back from a 2-week vacation, which was really lovely, but it made me a little rusty. That first sentence is wrong, and I added it at the last minute. That was for the MeeBee-Weebee report. So there is not a miscellaneous task in eCivis. You just need to retain the records in your files.
Okay. Thank you for
Apologies.
The next question was on the 2024 NOFA caps. Question was, do we know the caps for the 2024 NOFA? And the answer to this was, no, we do not have definite caps yet. We are hosting a listening session 1 week from today, which will be on Wednesday, October 25th at 10 a.m. So that we can receive applicant feedback on the 2024 NOFA. And to register, please visit that link, and that's in the slides if you need to register. And the next question was on citizen participation. The question was clarifying the 2023 and 2024 citizen participation. I see you changed chapter 4 to state 4 postings for the notices. I'm assuming that folks who already did their noticing early, who published and posted in 3 public places, meets this requirement still, as it is a total of 4. Am I reading that correctly? And the answer to this was yes, this will meet the requirement. The change is that we went from requiring a newspaper publication plus 3 other postings to 4 postings total. One of these can be a newspaper publication, but it does not have to be. So if you did a newspaper publication plus 3 other postings, you are compliant. There was another question on citizen participation. The question was citizen participation for 2024. For those jurisdictions that have already had their hearings and posted only in 3 public places, citizen participation will have to be conducted again. And the answer to this was no. As long as you did the newspaper publication plus posting in 3 other places, you are compliant. The change was made to provide flexibility and to make the newspaper publication optional. However, if the grantee does not publish in the newspaper, they must choose another place to post or publish the notice of public hearing in a place that will best reach members of the community. His next question was on the MeeBee-Weebee report. The question was, a few questions on the MeeBee-Weebee report task reps have been emailing about recently. Can we assume every open contract will need to report that? CDBG and CDBG-CV. Can you elaborate on how we should be reporting for subrecipients who are nonprofits, thus have a board of directors? And the answer was the survey is to report on all CDBG and CDBG funded contracts and subcontracts. And please direct any specific questions to chris.andrews at hcd.ca.gov. There was another question on MeeBee-Weebee reports, and the question was, following up on the MeeBee-Weebee reporting, SurveyMonkey does not have an option to download the responses, so therefore a jurisdiction does not have documentation of the report that is submitted and cannot produce that for audit purposes. The answer to this was, SurveyMonkey does not have the ability to allow respondents to see or save a copy of their submittal. There is no compliance need for such a report, and all relevant procurement information should be in the grantee's procurement files, so no further documentation is required. A documentation that you completed the report by marking the miscellaneous task as complete is sufficient for HCD's purposes. Please feel free to email Chris Andrews at chris.andrews@hcd.ca.gov if you have further questions. And I made another question on the MeeBee-Weebee report, and the question was, the MeeBee-Weebee doesn't ask for subrecipient information, which we are considering different from subcontractors and contractors. Is that correct? And the answer was the annual reporting that is required for HUD for MeeBee-Weebee is to document the contracts or subcontracts that have been entered into for goods and services funded with federal funds, whether they went to women or minority businesses. You are correct to not consider the structure of the subrecipient to a MeeBee-Weebee enterprise. So the subrecipient itself will not be considered in the MeeBee-Weebee report. If the subrecipient had procured for goods and services, the entity that they contracted with would be reported in the MIBI-WIBI report. This next question was on planning grants. And the question was, for planning grants available in January, do you know what's the dollar limit? As I understand, there are two types of planning grants, pre-development and feasibility capacity. Can I apply simultaneously, sequentially, or just one per year? And the answer to this was HED will not be splitting up the different types of planning grants. Grantees will only be able to apply for one planning grant a year, either for a feasibility study or pre-development. HED is working on the details regarding the limits. So let grantees know after HED hosts the listening session and an internal conversation. As soon as HED develops the limits for the 2024 NOFA, they will be discussed during office hours. And this next question was on the office hours recordings. A real recording of this be available? And the answer to this was yes, all office hours webinars will be recorded and posted to our YouTube playlist for the next 6 months. We also send out a recap email newsletter that includes text content of the slides the Friday after office hours. Check with your IT to make sure that it's not going spam or getting blocked by a firewall. Let's see, this next question was on federal language provisions. The question was, what language should we be using in our contracts with contractors? Should CDBG language be added as an amendment to our standard contract? And the answer to this was yes. Federal language provisions are required for contracts that are to be funded or reimbursed with federal funds like CDBG. So please refer to the GMM Chapter 5 for procurement, and Appendix 5.8 specifies required contract provisions in a table. So depending on the type of procurement or contracting you are doing, you can identify in the table the sample language that is required. It is very important that your contracts include the federal provisions language for the use of CDBG funding. This next question was on grant writers. The question was, our county secured a grant writer through a competitive bid process who has performed very well for us and would like to also use them on the upcoming CDBG NOFA. Is this allowed? The answer to this was, if it's for the county, the grant writer supports any grants the grantees are applying for, and it does not matter if it is federal. Yes. You can use them to assist with the application since it's procured through the county. This next question was on PI policy. The question was, I'm having difficulty finding guidance on eligible projects for PI funds. Do you have any recommended guidance documents you could point me to? There seems to be more restrictions on which projects are eligible for PI funding. And the answer to this was, we do not have our PI policy up just yet. So please reach out to your CDBG representative for your area. They can give you guidance on PI eligible activities and assistance with reporting. So the next question was on the waste, fraud, and abuse training. The question was, I plan to make an Excel spreadsheet that tracks all of our jurisdictions with open CDBG contracts and the name of staff or date they have viewed the waste, fraud, and abuse training. Since it is on YouTube and you can verify who viewed it in its entirety from the stats YouTube provides, will this self-certification be sufficient? And the answer to this was, we will be adding a miscellaneous task to UCIVIS so grantees can let us know if it's done, and grantees indicate in the task that the training has been done. Some of the annual HED reps have been sending out the training to the grantees who informed us that they cannot attend. If you received a miscellaneous task but completed the training, you can email your rep documentation. If you need the task assigned to you, your rep can generate a miscellaneous task. This next question is on critical facility upgrades. The question was, are energy upgrades considered critical facility upgrades like ADA, county facilities, and eligible CDBG expenditures, thinking of the library upgrade project? The answer was, we may need more information like the scope and scale of what kind of facility improvement. It will depend on the eligibility, activity, and the national objective. Often we look at ADA accessibility under limited clientele. I don't think energy upgrades would be treated the same as that. I don't see them as synonymous, but I don't think it's necessarily prohibited. So we need more information on how we would meet the national objective and what eligible activity would propose to meet with what scope of the work. We're open to discussing application details and assisting with navigating through the process. Please talk to your rep ahead of time before the 2024 NOFA drops. Next question was on social media posting. And the question was regarding posting in 4 places. If we posted to various social media platforms, does each platform count as one location, or are they just lumped together as social media and only count as one location? And the answer to this was, for social media, you can post on different platforms. However, it all counts as one location.
I just want to add here for a moment, because I think looks like there was a lot of discussion in the office hours that I wasn't here for on the changes to that chapter 4. The intent of the changes that we made were to remove the requirement for a newspaper publication, but to replace that requirement with a more intentional process where jurisdictions are doing their best to reach the populations that are intended to be served by community development block grant funds. So while we removed the newspaper publication requirement, that is not at all to reduce the amount of outreach that a grantee is doing to reach the public. So the intent was that we are asking you to actually be more intentional about how you are doing that outreach, because we heard from all of you that newspaper publication doesn't really reach people. So that's so just posting in social media is probably not going to is not going to reach everyone. So really thinking about and asking members of the community that you know of and that you have relationships with, where can we post this to give access to the most people and let people know in the community who are more likely to be served by the programs what we're doing and where they can come to provide feedback on what we intend to do as a jurisdiction. So please note that that's the intent of the changes that we made to our requirements to meeting the public participation process.
So our next question was on live training requests. And the question was, is it possible to have a monthly live training on different topics? And the answer to this was, by the end of October, we should have updates with equity review to the grants management manual. While ICF is still under contract with HCD, we plan to present a chapter of the GMM monthly at office hours. We want to ensure that grantees or consultants assisting grantees know what resources are currently available and posted on the website to help facilitate the management of CDBG. Let's see, I think this is our last question on in-person training requests. And the question was, could live trainings be in person like in the old days? And the answer was yes. This is on the top of our list. We are working to get these going. All right, that's the last question from our recap. So let's get into our live Q&A. Let's see, our first question is from Kelly. I'm trying to understand program income and would like some help. When we receive repayments from business assistance loan programs, those repayments of funds then become program income, as I understand it. Program income is subject to similar use guidelines as CDBG funds with some special notes. Program income must be used for eligible CDBG activities, and program income is subject to all the rules and regulations governing CDBG funds, including but not limited to compliance with the national objective. I think the question got cut off. Okay, that's part 2. So lead-based paint has requirements, etc. So it cannot be used to fund a planning project. So feasibility study, project plan, etc. The grantee can expend up to 10% of the total program income received for general administration. My understanding is the GA can cover our staff's time for administering the loan program and general program overhead costs. Some have inquired in the ability of GA to be reinvested in other governmental facility and infrastructure needs.
Thanks for the question, Kelly. And we are working on getting our PI our PR policy approved by HUD. It's with them right now. And as soon as we have it approved, we will be publishing that as along with the guidance on PI reporting in the eCivis system. In the meantime, all grantees can work with their reps, and if the reps can't answer questions, they can engage one of the specialists, Mike or myself, and our other specialists can answer questions too. More or less everything you've written here, Kelly, is correct with a couple of clarifications. The grantee can expend up to 17% of annual receipts. Looking at in terms of how that's calculated, it's 17% of the annual receipts for the prior year's period. That can be spent on general admin. And yes, that can be used to cover the administration of your CDBG program. If you have a standard agreement under which you are making new loans available, you can actually count administration of a loan program, including loan servicing, as activity delivery. But that's going to be an individual conversation because it depends on what you currently have a standard agreement for. And then I'm not totally understanding what you're saying there about some have inquired about on the ability of GA to be reinvestment in other government facility and infrastructure needs. Not if it's not a CDBG eligible activity. No, you can't use GA for maintenance of government or repair of government facilities if it's not CDBG eligible. So sounds like maybe you have some specific questions for your jurisdiction. And if you reach out to your rep, we're happy to work with you to get answers on those. Another point of clarification on PI is that to expend PI, you must have your PI encumbered in a standard agreement. And that goes for PI expended on general admin or on a project or program that's eligible. Hope that answers your questions.
Thank you, Felicity. Let's see, our next question is from Paul. I have a PI application in process that is just about to be submitted. Do I need to make sure that goes in prior to new application being released in eCivis, or will the PI one I'm using stay live in the system after that date?
Paul, thank you for your question. So the PI application that we currently have will stay live. We have not worked out the PI application yet in our new application process yet. So we're going to keep the current PI application live. So we will communicate out to the grantees if we make that change with the PI only application.
Good. Thank you, Mimi. Let's see. I see that the next question is from Jade. I see that the time frame to apply under the 2023 NOFA is 2 months. Will the time frame for the 2024 NOFA be the same or longer? It doesn't leave a lot of time for community outreach and board requirements.
So Jade, the 60 days has always been a normal time frame. So I don't see that changing or increasing the time frame for that for the 2024. The over-the-counter will still be first come, first serve. So whatever comes first, if the money is suspended or the 60 days. But the competitive application for 2024 would be the 60 days. But keep in mind, when we drop the NOFA, we do give you 30 days to review the NOFA and get familiar and kind of do the prep work. So when we drop the NOFA, we don't open the application at that time. So we give you the 30 days and then we open for the 60 days. So that's technically what 90 days that we're giving you.
And when we drop the NOFA, we will provide the resolution that you can use for your governing body. So as soon as the NOFA drops, you can work on your resolution, and you should also have all the material that you need now if you wanted to do any kind of, if you want to do your community hearings in advance, your community meetings in advance. There's nothing stopping you from doing that before the NOFA drops, because the intent is to ask the community what they would like to see in terms of funding, so that you could do that in advance, or you could do that right when the NOFA drops. Do I have that right, Mamie? More or less? Yeah.
Yes.
Let's see. Our next question is from Kristen. Please post the registration link for the 1025, and so I posted that into the chat. That's our 2024 CDBG NOFA listening session. That'll be next week at 10 a.m. Let's see. Next question is from Jade. Posting in the newspaper is not a requirement at all. It will still be considered a location, correct? If we do continue to post in the newspaper, is there still a requirement to have it posted a certain amount of time prior to the hearing?
Hi, Jade. Yes, posting in the newspaper can be considered a location. All that we've done is remove the requirement that it must be a newspaper of general circulation. It's still an option. If you feel that that's the best way to reach some folks in your community, you are welcome to do a newspaper publication. And the requirement has not changed, that it is the certain amount of time prior to the hearing. And you should, I believe that time period is found within the marked up chapter 4 that's found in the files tab in the eCivis portal, and that time period has not changed. I'm not remembering what it is. It's either 14 days or 10 days. I'm not remembering what it is off the top of my head, but it's listed there, and the requirement is that part of the requirement remains the same.
Let's hear. Next question is from Jade. The way PI is now, in order to spend PI in general admin, wouldn't you still need to do an amendment to inject that PI into your standard agreements?
Hi, Jade. If you didn't have PI budgeted for general admin in your original standard agreement that had PI budgeted, then yes, you would need to do an amendment to add that PI into your standard agreement. If it's just moving a line item and it's not changing the overall amount of your program income to be used for GA, that's a revision and can be done within the program. But if it's actually additive of an amount that's beyond the original approved amount of your standard agreement, then you'd have to go to your board and we'd have to route an actual contractual amendment.
Thank you, Christy. The next question is from Jade. Our concern with the time frame is more of the funding caps. We need to know what is eligible to apply for before we go out to the community. Otherwise, they get confused and upset if we do not apply for what they requested. Also, we have 9 communities to reach out to individually before we go to the board.
Felicity, I would say that it would be safe to say that the caps is something that probably won't change for 2024, to kind of be on the safe side, Jade. I know that we are having the listening sessions for the 2024 NOFA, but I think for us to be able to drop on time in January, I think that would be a heavy lift for us to make that major of a change. But we will take, listen to you guys' requests and concerns when we look into the 25 NOFA. But to be on the safe side, Jade, if you want to try to get ahead of everything, I would try to go off of the limits that's currently in the 2023 NOFA. Would you agree, Felicity?
Well, the 2023 NOFA doesn't have the limits because it was just the prior amount of it was the amount that you were funded under the wait list. So it's what we've signaled.
In our other,
what we've signaled previously. Session. Yeah, in the so we will in the next week in the listening session, we will put out there our proposed limits, which are the same as they were when we did listening sessions. I want to say it was in the early summer, like in May or June. We did listening sessions and we established what the limits were going to be. And then, as you know, we wanted to make sure that we made some changes. And so we pushed out the NOFA for non-waitlisted projects until January, but our intent is to use those limits that were previously announced as the limits that were going to be in the NOFA. So if you could come to next week's listening session, we will be putting those out as our proposed limits for the 2024 NOFA. And unless we get really significant dissension from, like, unless folks are really wanting those limits to be different than what we'd proposed, which I don't anticipate, because I think you all were in agreement. We worked together. We got a lot of feedback on what the limits made sense to be for this coming round. I don't anticipate them changing. So we can likely announce what we anticipate those limits to be relatively soon following that listening session before the NOFA is released, so that you can anticipate what that's going to look like. We also will be able to tell you what we anticipate being competitive funding and OTC fundings and what are eligible activities. So you should have what you need to go out to the community to do your noticing and your hearings pretty soon.
Thank you very much, Felicity. Let's see, next question is from Kelly. Some of our supervisors understand that 10% of PI can be reserved by county to be reused in projects as they see fit in needed capital projects. My understanding of CDBG is that all PI fund uses have to meet a national objective and cannot support general government operations or maintenance of basic government facilities.
Hi, Kelly. I don't know where that 10% of PI being reused in projects in needed as they see fit and needed capital projects. I don't know where that 10% comes from. I've never heard that reference before. Your second sentence there is absolutely correct. CDBG PI can be used for any project that meets a national objective, with the limitation on PIs that it can't be used for public services and it can't be used for planning, and that's due to our statewide caps of no more than 10% for planning and no more than 15% of our overarching pot for public services. So we just can't make that money available to be used for PI. But other than that, if you can use any amount of your PI for CDBG eligible public facilities, as long as it's an eligible activity. If you have more questions, do reach out to your rep, and then we can work with you to make sure that we're all on the same page of understanding what you might want to, what you're interested in using your PI for, so that we can get you on track to get an application in for use of your PI.
Thank you, Felicity. Let's see, our next question is from Jeff. So regarding the limits for activities, we can let our communities know this is the information we have from HCD and that it may change, but we don't think so. Correct?
Yes, Jeff, that's a good way to frame it. Thank you.
Thanks. Let's see. Our next request is from Janet. See, when posting NOFA-related documents, please post all documents on or before the NOFA drop date. I noticed yesterday I went to the files because I can remember if I finished downloading files, that 2 additional files were posted after the NOFA drop date. I don't know about others, but once I go to files and download, I don't particularly check for updates. Perhaps it could be mentioned or announced that additional documents or updated versions of documents have been posted.
Thanks for that feedback, Janet. We did our best this year to make sure that all of the essential documents were posted along with the NOFA posting. Anything that's been added is supplemental and to assist grantees. Since I was out, I don't know what those other 2 documents that were added were. Maybe Mamie can speak more to that, but
it was just additional documents, supplemental documents to support the grantee. I think there is a GA worksheet, and maybe Jeannie, you can chime in the chat of what was uploaded.
So Jeannie says that it was an example standard agreement that was posted, and the GA grant, the amount of the calculator for general administration.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and Felicity, while you were gone, we created a calculator to be able to assist grantees, and they can just enter the amount in and kind of generates what their general admin will be to help them. So it's not really part of the application. It's just to be able to support and help you with the application. But we'll try to do our best that if we do upload any future resources relatable to the contract or not, we'll try to go ahead and get that information out to you guys.
Yeah, we really are striving for 2024 to have everything posted all at once. But of course, if we put something up that we think is going to be helpful to you, we won't hesitate to do that because we want this project to be as easy as possible, process to be as easy as possible for you.
But thank you, Janet, for bringing that to our attention. Appreciate it.
It looks like all the questions that we have in the queue. I did see some in the chat. I just want to make sure I got to these. So Nicole asked, will the 1019 webinar be recorded and available afterwards? And the answer to that was yes. That'll also be on our trainings and workshops playlist. Usually takes about 2 weeks to get that recording to our YouTube. Then we did have another question from Kristen. So the listening session will be recorded in, right? I believe, yes, we do plan to also record the listening session and post it to our workshops and trainings playlist. Again, it's probably about 2 weeks afterwards. Let's see, got a question from Jennifer. So when do you expect to release the CDBG CV project's additional funds?
Thanks for the question, Jennifer. We have the augmentation funding memo under review by legal, and I believe some movement was made on that while I was out. So we're working to get it out as soon as possible. So we will announce it as soon as it's out. Should be in the next couple of weeks. Sorry for not having more of a solid date for you. We're working to get it out as soon as we get approvals.
Thank you, Felicity. And that looks like all the questions that we have in the queue for now. We should go ahead and give everyone another minute or two to give any last minute questions. Okay, that looks like all the questions that we have here today. So we'll see many of you tomorrow at our application workshop. That's at 2 p.m. I believe. I think it's for the 2023 NOFA application. And if not, we'll see you. We do have the listening session, another listening session next Thursday, and then of course the listening session is on the Wednesday at 10 a.m. next week. And then the second 2023 overview, the NOFA session 2 is on Thursday at 2 p.m. So hopefully we'll see you at those. And if not, we'll see you at our next office hours in 2 weeks. So hope you all have a good rest of your day, a good rest of your week, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone.